My name is Christine Thornhill, and I'm a practicing family law attorney here in Central Florida. I've been practicing for nearly 20 years. I'm here today to talk to you about what is the custody law in Florida. Custody is divided into two different categories. First, you have parental responsibility, and then you have time sharing. Parental responsibility is basically decision making. You have shared parental responsibility with specific designation as to which parent is going to make certain decisions, and then you have sole parental responsibility. Most courts go in with the presumption that shared parental responsibility is what's in the best interest of the children. Shared parental responsibility means that both parents will decide what school the children are going to, if the child's going to be baptized, if ears are going to be pierced, any major decisions, those are to be made by both parents. Some issues may be only decided by one parent. Maybe only one parent is going to make the decisions with regards to religious issues. Maybe only one parent is going to make decisions with regards to where the child is going to school. That is shared parental responsibility, while one parent makes those specific designations. Then you also have sole parental responsibility, where only one parent makes all of the decisions, all major decisions, I should say. Shared parental responsibility is the norm. Where it's not the norm is when domestic violence comes into play. If the parents have domestic violence issues between them, then the court sometimes will then consider, well, these parents can't get along, one parent controls the other too much, and in that situation, the courts will be figuring out which responsibilities should be happening for the child. Then you go into time sharing. Time sharing is where the child is going to stay overnights with which parent. A parenting plan is required now, and the parenting plan really designates where the child is going to sleep every single night of the entire year. And if you go to the Florida Supreme Court website, there is a sample parenting plan on the website that lays out every single designation that needs to be done for the child. So it takes into consideration who's going to be handling the responsibility. Then it takes into consideration childcare. One parent may have the child 1 week with a Sunday exchange. The other parent may have the child the week after. So it's week on with one parent, week on with another parent. Or it could be 2 days with one parent, 2 days with another, and every other weekend. Or it could be the whole week with one parent and every other weekend to the other parent. And if that's whatever is your normal schedule, that needs to be put into the parenting plan. On top of your normal schedule, then you have to consider, well, should we have a standard holiday schedule, which is very important. And a lot of parents may go, well, it's okay, we can work it out. And that's great that you can work it out. You should be working it out as parents. You should be able to communicate and work out those last minute adjustments that need to be made. However, in the event that you can't, you need this parenting plan to fall back on. And that's what it is. It's a fallback plan. It allows you to say, you know what, we're not agreeing right now, so let's just go back to what the court order is and do that. So it's also important that you lay out every single holiday, because there's going to come a time where you're going to be going, well, I really wanted Labor Day. I mean, it wasn't important to me 5 years ago, but it's important to me now. And so I really want the Labor Day weekend holiday because I have off work or because I want to just spend time with my child since there's no school. And so it needs to be in your parenting plan. Even though you may not go along with it, maybe you think that those holidays are that important. Somewhere down the line, they maybe become important, and that's why they need to be in the parenting plan. The parenting plan also lays out the time sharing of percentage of overnights, which is a factor in child support. The parenting plan not only just tells you that you may get Labor Day, but it's Labor Day weekend. So you have Friday at 6 o'clock or Friday when school ends until Tuesday morning when school starts back over, or Monday night at 6 o'clock. The parenting plan is very important, and time sharing is one of the designations for custody. Well, if mom and dad are married, then they both have an absolute right to see the child. So even if dad moves out or if mom moves out, they absolutely have a right to see the child. So just because one parent moved out of the house does not mean that they don't get to see their child. So how can I see my child without going to court? Well, you should call the other parent and say, hey, it's my turn to see my child. I want to come over and visit with the child. I want to come over and take him or her out to McDonald's or to the park or wherever we want to go, and then we'll come back, or the child needs to stay with me. You need to be able to communicate with the other parent. If you can't communicate with the other parent, then you're going to need to file something. You're going to need to file a petition for a dissolution of marriage, a petition for a modification if you already have an order from the court. However, it's a different circumstance if the parents were never married. Because if the parents were never married, then that puts one parent in a higher or better position than the other parent. If mom is the one who has the child and gave birth to the child, brought the child home from the hospital, and the child's been residing with mom the entire time. Dad maybe never lived with the child or never came around or tried to come around, but mom wouldn't let him, then mom is the one who's holding all of the cards right now. So you're going to have to go to court if you want to get those rights that you should have. So a lot of times I have clients call up and say, well, I'm on the birth certificate. Okay, that's great that you're on the birth certificate. And if dad signed the birth certificate, then that means that there's a presumption that he's the legal father. However, we don't have that until you go to court. Only a married couple are the ones who have legal parents on both sides. But you don't have that if you are not married. Then mom at this point would be the only legal parent, and she can withhold that time sharing, the visitation with the child, until you go to court. You lose custody in Florida by not putting your child's best interests first. Well, of course, if you abandon, abuse, or neglect your child, then the Department of Children and Families will get involved. You don't have any electricity, if your child is not going to school and has horrible attendance records for school, so many ways that you could lose custody. If there's already a court order out there and the judge has already decided that this parent is going to have this time and this parent is going to have this time, and during your time you're neglecting your child and you're not putting your child's best interests up front, then it's up to the other parent to file a petition for modification and take you back to court, arguing that you should lose custody, that you should lose time sharing, that you should be limited on the amount of time that you're around your child because of the certain things that are happening. A lot of people think that once we get a final order, that that's how it is and that's how it needs to stay. However, maybe a year down the road or 2 years down the road, you realize that mom's not keeping up with the child. She allows my child to skip school 4 days out of the week. There's no food in the house. Whenever I get my child is filthy dirty and she smells because mom doesn't have running water and she's not allowing or she's not giving my child a bath and making sure that she has a good sleep habits and that she's cleaning herself and all of those things, then the other parent needs to go and file a supplemental petition for a modification. And that modification is that that we need to modify the final judgment because the child is with mom and mom is not caring for the child appropriately. And because of that, we need to modify it, get more time with dad and less time with mom. It's not a situation where dad now has a better house or now has a new wife and is more stable, has a better job, can give more to the child. It's that the child is doing so bad at mom's house, the child needs to be with dad during that time. And that would be a reason why mom would lose custody. An unfit parent is someone who has abandoned, neglected, or abused their child. And that would be a reason for the Department of Children and Families to step in. Also, an unfit parent is someone who has allegations of a drug abuse. Now, is that drug abuse happening in front of the child? Does the parent leave their drugs all over the house and the child can pick them up? Is the unfit parent could also be someone who has gone to jail and is going to be staying in jail for a while. So the other parent has to make sure that they're there for the child because the other one is going to be sitting in jail or prison. I think there's a wide range of what makes you an unfit parent. I had a case one time where the client came in and said, I'm very unhappy. Dad doesn't keep the child on a schedule. He allows my child to stay up at, until 10:30 on a school night, gives him Mountain Dew and a bag of Cheetos to go to school. I had to sit there and go over with the client, okay, well, how's the child harmed though? Because I agree 10:30, it may be too late for a school night, but it's not my parenting skills. And you might have a different attitude and you might have a different way of raising your child at your house. However, dad is allowed to do that as long as the child's getting up and going to school the next day and is not really tardy, not missing school. As long as the child doesn't have decay all over his teeth because of the Mountain Dew and Cheetos and now has to go get a whole bunch of dentist work. As long as the child's not failing out of class because, he was sleeping so late, you have to have a connection to show why and how it affects the child. Because some kids need later times to go to sleep. Some kids don't require 9 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep. As long as there's nothing that's showing that your child is suffering from it or that it's harmful, then it's really just a parenting style and the courts are not going to get involved. Thank you, and I hope that I answer your questions, and I look forward to talking to you again.